All hail Nicolas Cage. All hail Nicolas Cage, for we are not worthy to be in the presence of the all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-seeing Nicolas Cage. For there has never been a greater actor that has ever starred in any movie ever. For reals, don't do the math on that. Don't go and check it, cause here at the Nicolas Cage Church we do not go and check facts, for we believe in only Nicolas Cage. But now that we've gotten our usual Nicolas Cage worship out of the way, we go ahead and look into the movie that we will be looking at today, that being Longlegs, the most recent movie that Nicolas Cage has been in. It has a IMDb rating of 6.7 out of 10, and it used to have a popularity rating of 31, but what happens when you don't have time to work on videos and life does life things? Well, it drops down to 44. Still not bad. Top 50 in IMDb? Dub. I'd say that's a dub. This movie was written and directed by Osgood Perkins. The only reason I bring that up is because Osgood Perkins happens to be the son of Anthony Perkins. For some of you, that may not be a name that you recognize off the top of the dome there, but that happens to be the man who starred in the movie Psycho, you know, Norman Bates. So, I don't know, thought that was interesting, but yeah. So now we go ahead and look into our top cast here. We have Agent Lee Harker, played by Micah Monroe. And then we have, of course, the great and powerful Nicolas Cage playing Longlegs, that is his name in the movie. We have Agent Carter, Ruth Harker, which is just Agent Lee Harker's mother, Agent Browning, Agent Fisk, young Lee Harker, Carrie Ann Camara, young Carrie Ann Camara, and a lot of other characters that are just there. But enough with the introduction of the cast and random facts about the people that directed and written it. Let's go right on into the review, I guess. Our movie starts off with a young Lee Harker staring at a weird car parked in front of her house, only for her to meet Nicolas Cage. Lucky. And oh look, he said the thing. Oh boy, are we in business now.
Long legs today.
But now we have old Lee Harker, and she's a detective now, and her partner are out on the lookout for an armed and dangerous individual, when out of nowhere Harker says,
"He's in there."
Which, that is definitely not how that works. Now, she just so happens to be right, but imagine pulling up to a random house as a detective and being like, yep, that's the one right there, Chief. And now we start to learn she's some kind of psychic, as they are doing psychic tests on her, the best way to find out if someone's a psychic. And it turns out she's only half psychic, which is odd. That kind of sounds like just taking an educated guess, honestly, but, you know, plot. And now we get to the expo dump of how multiple families have been murdered, all seemingly to have been done by the father, but each house has one thing in common: a letter written in code signed by an individual going by the moniker Longlegs. And now there's this scene in which Harker is going through all the evidence in the conference room, which is odd because did no one ever go in there while she was doing this? Were they not allowed to go in there? Was there a sign on the door that said no detectives allowed? More info comes out about the case that all the murder weapons came from inside the house, but there is no evidence of him ever being there. Harker meets Agent Carter's family in a scene that seems as though it was ripped straight out of the Napoleon Dynamite movie, with the whole scene being incredibly awkward. With it all culminating in a Ruby asking Harker to come to her birthday party. Don't know if Harker would have been my first choice, but, you know, I guess she doesn't have a lot of friends. But don't worry, this definitely won't come up later.
Ah, foreshadowing.
While Harker is at her luxurious cabin in the woods, weird things begin to happen, like banging on her front door and seeing a strange figure outside. And what's the best course of action when that happens? Yes, that's right. Run outside into the darkness.
Come on over here. Come on over here. No, you flipped me off. Come on, coward. No. Come on. You're not an intellectual. You're a fake and a fraud.
So that a strange man can now walk through your house and leave a message that essentially tells her how to solve the codes, written in all the letters. And now there's another murder. Dun dun dun. And of course there is a letter that Harker is able to instantly be able to decipher, which Carter of course thinks is weird. Harker goes on another study montage and finds out the dates when written out in this weird arbitrary fashion. correlate to a demonic symbol, which also is odd because there were like 3 other dates on the other side of the paper, which I guess it doesn't matter at all. But luckily there was a girl that survived one of the attacks because she wasn't at the house when the murders occurred. But before they go talk to her, they decide to take a little trip to the old family barn. And maybe I'm wrong, but when they pull up to the barn and they find immediate evidence of someone being involved in the crime having been committed there recently, instead of calling, to have other people show up, they just go in and check it themselves. FBI, open up! With yellow flashlights. Maybe this is a sepia filter, but instead the old barn they find and a nifty little girl doll hidden underneath the floorboards. That's where I keep my nifty little girl dolls, is underneath the floorboards.
Ooh. Say ooh.
They even find this little metal ball in the head of the doll that's really odd properties that just so happen to send Harker into a vision. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's Cage time. I really feel like Nicolas Cage only takes roles that he can act super weird in now, but onto the mental hospital we go, as apparently the person they were there to see had been catatonic for years. I say had because out of nowhere she goes back to quote-unquote normal after receiving her first ever visitor, and that visitor, well, Lee Harker, which obviously isn't true because they just don't check IDs there. And now Carrie Ann starts talking about the man down the stairs, and she really likes the phrase happy as peaches, even saying that Harker also had a doll that looked like her. And now the plot starts to go a little bit off the rails. Harker starts talking about dolls and magic and how maybe the dolls are linked to the victims/murders. Agent Carter talks Harker about the strange incident involving her mother, an incident that took place on January 13th, a day before her own 9th birthday, talking about a tall, pale trespasser, perhaps one with the long legs.
He said it! He said it!
Agent Carter then sends her to go visit her mom so that she may learn more about said mysterious trespasser. And now that she's back home, Harker begins to have strange visions and memories, I guess, about the days leading up to her 9th birthday, with Harker eventually asking her mother about it, and her mom dodges the question as hard as she possibly could. And well, mom has definitely gone cuckoo's bananas, and for some reason Harker has a bunch of really weird photos that she took from her childhood, and Nick Cage solo. And well, now they've got him in custody. And what does he do once he's being interrogated? Well, he just keeps singing happy birthday for 24 minutes. And in one more confusing scenes in the movie, one of the detectives states that his luggage was full of notebooks that matched the handwriting found at the scene of the crimes. But there is no physical evidence linking him, so they can't hold him for too long. All because he's just a Satan worshiper. Can't prosecute them Satan worshippers, but if you ask me, that would make no sense because she states that the handwriting matches and the letters found at the crime scene, so at worst he's definitely known for being at the scene of a crime, and that's at least tampering with evidence in at least 8 family murders. But nope, doesn't look like we have a reason to hold him, Chief. Gotta let him go. But they move on to think that he must have an accomplice, someone who would find the families and let them into their home. And now it's time for Harker to interview Longlegs. And now Longlegs starts going very crazy, even once again talking about the man downstairs. And when Harker inevitably asks him about the man downstairs, he responds with, "You should ask your mommy." Now, why might that be, I wonder? Oh, and while they were in there, Carrie Ann Camera decided to jump off the mental hospital as she was, I'm sure, as happy as peaches. The other female detective drives Harker back and decides to sit in the car while Harker goes in to get her mother so they can all go down to the station and do some more questioning. That's weird. I thought the passenger seat was supposed to be called Shotgun. And look, now there's a doll of Harker as a child, and mom hits it with that quick 360 no-scope. Causes Harker to faint? And now mother gives an explanation to everything that is going on, and why it is, well, that's because of Satan. Yep, it's Satan using Longlegs to get the spirits of little girls by making mind-controlling dolls. And the only reason that Harker was spared was because her mother agreed to help Satan, and Longlegs by appearing as a nun giving away free birthday dolls to unsuspecting victims. Since she might be a little bit more trustworthy of letting into your house rather than super creepy Longlegs man. Harker awakens to a call we can only assume is from Satan, again telling her she is late for Ruby's birthday party. Harker then races to Carter's house only to see that her mother has already made it. And what has she made it there with? a special gift from the church. And everything seems fine at first, but very rapidly goes downhill like a massive boulder rolling down a 90-degree cliff face. And after Carter kills his wife, Harker is forced to shoot him and her own mother. But instead of destroying the doll, we can only assume Harker and Ruby dip out. But we don't know because it's roll credits time and roll review time. But oh boy, it has come down to my standard review time. So let's just jump right on into it. For the plot, I only gave it a 0.5 out of 3. I just wasn't super keen on the Satan cop-out. I felt like it could have been a lot more interesting to try to keep it based in reality. Almost maybe if I would have even taken some sort of random hypnosis or maybe some sort of cult thing. I know I'm a stickler for cult things. I can't just be like, oh, let's go cult. Throw a cult in there, make it more interesting. But just something that would have kept it from just being, oh, look, it's Satan. The whole reason that he's doing this is because of Satan. He makes the dolls for Satan. The ball contains Satan. It's Satan's ball. Like, I just feel like that's a cop-out. I would much rather have seen them try to create a reasoning or a story as to why he wants to do this. I understand his want is Satan currently, but how many people's want is Satan? But I just felt like they could have done a whole lot more with it, so it only gets the 0.5 for me. For the acting, 1.5 out of 3. As much as I would like to gas up Nicolas Cage, I felt like a lot of the acting was okay. The movie went for more of a creepy atmosphere than what I would consider normal human interactions. A lot of the interactions between Harker and almost anybody are weird, which I understand. She's supposed to be psychic. She's supposed to be this kind of oddball person that has this keen sense for the abnormal, and she has visions and That's So Raven type of deal where she can kind of remember her past, but at the same time she can't. She has weird relationships with a child that she barely met, and it's just a bunch of weird interactions that don't seem like normal standard human interactions, which I guess it's hard to put that on the acting, but I feel like with acting you can create a character that's more of just weird, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that that's a terrible thing all the time, but when it's about 85 to 90% of the interactions are that weird, just kind of talking to a brick wall type of thing, it's just hard to kind of stay with the movie. So it only gets the 1.5 out of 3 for me. Sorry, Nicolas Cage. If it was just you, it would have been 5 out of 10 for just the acting. Everything else would have just added on to it. So it would have been already there. I'm sorry, Nicolas Cage. For the cinematography, I gave it a 2 out of 3. It was shot really well. I'm not a huge fan of the different framing on some of the old shots because I understand what they were going for. They were going for like that old, like 55 millimeter old school camera type deal where you have this border and, you know, this is signifying that it's old, and it's all this weird border to make sure you know that it's old timey, and you can't tell because it's not like our main character is 8 years old in this shot. It's definitely because of the framing on the border. So I didn't like that too much. The rest of it though, I thought it was shot really well. It wasn't like Hereditary or Midsommar where they try to use angles and try to make these creepy like subliminal things to make you feel uncomfortable on the inside. That never really jived with me, but I thought a lot of the shots that they used in this did a really good job of making you feel unsettled. Like the cabin scene, it was very, very dark throughout a lot of it. It wasn't too dark to where you didn't know what was going on because it had lights in the area that it wanted you to focus on. And that's something I think more movies should do, is they should, if you want to create this dark atmosphere, use lighting to draw attention to what it is you want to draw attention to, instead of just making it all dark and being like, oh, did you hear that? It's something in the shadow. You can't see it, but it's there. And I feel like that takes away a lot from just sitting there and enjoying the visuals. So I thought they did a really good job with a lot of the shots on here. So it does end up getting the 2 out of 3 for me. And then for the bonus point, it's not even a question. It's getting the full bonus point because Nicolas Cage. If Nicolas Cage is in your movie, you're getting the bonus point for me. I'm sorry. That's the way it is. It's gonna happen. Crucify me if you want. I like Nicolas Cage. I've liked Nicolas Cage for a long time. Nicolas Cage is on my list of actors that I really like in movies. So sorry. That's just the way that it is. That's how it is. I like Nicolas Cage. I feel like he's really hit his groove in these odd, middle of the road horror movies and just horror movies in general, because he has this really weird, unsettling energy to him. And I think that's one of the reasons that I like him is I whenever I see weird people, I'm like, this weird person is interesting. And that's what Nicolas Cage is. He is a odd individual, and he has a tendency to overact in a lot of things, which is perfect for horror movies. In horror movies, every time you watch a movie, somebody's overacting, somebody's being weird, because that makes you feel uncomfortable on the inside to see someone express their emotions in such a flamboyant and exuberant way, because that's not in normal human comprehension of just seeing a person act so far beyond the realms of normalcy that it's just like, okay, well, what is this person doing? Why are they existing? Why are they acting like this? And I just think that that's, I don't know. I feel like he's found a really good genre to act in right now. I hope he continues to do horror movies because of all the reasons that I just stated. But I think him, let alone the fact that I just like Nicolas Cage, him being that extra weird person in this movie, it just fits because that's what they wanted him to be and that's what they got. So bonus point from me. So if we go ahead and add up all of it, and we have our plot, which is 0.5, our acting, which is 1.5, cinematography with the 2, our bonus point with the 1, add it all up together and we get a solid 5 out of 10. Literally absolute middle of the road. No higher, no less. I thought it was okay. I did not think that it was bad in any way, shape, or form. I did not think it was as good as some people hyped it up to be. I saw a bunch of people saying like, oh, this is the movie you have to go see. If you like horror movies, you need to go see Longlegs. If you do not go and see Longlegs, you can just go take a swim in your nearest lake with a bucket full of rocks. But it's okay. It's not the greatest movie ever. It's a nice change from what's going on. I will give it that. If you had to go pick one horror movie to go see, I'd say probably go watch this. I don't know about all of the other horror movies that have come out recently, but it's a fun movie to watch. It's not everything it's cracked up to be. It's not the end all be all of horror movies, but it's okay. It's literally middle of the road for me. You can go watch it if you want to, or don't if you don't want to. I'm not your parents. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it's very middle of the road for me. The IMDb rating was a 6.7 out of 10 for reference, so I'm a little lower than that one was, but like I said, 5 out of 10, literally middle of the road. You want to go watch it? Go for it. If you don't want to, don't go for it. I don't know. Like I said, do what you want. I think it's interesting. I don't think it's the greatest horror movie ever like it's been hyped up to be by some people, but if I had to suggest you go and see a movie, I'd probably put this one at the top of the list around there. So that is my review of the movie Longlegs. Thank you for anyone who decided to stop by, listen, watch, however you decide to intake this video, whether it be intravenously or through your ear holes. It's your choice, but thank you for stopping by. I know this is my first video in over 2 months almost. I have had a lot going on with work and life, and it's just been super difficult to find a time to work on these. I haven't felt super inspired to want to spend extra time that I don't have to work on something like this. The whole reason that I'm even making this video is because my lovely girlfriend asked me to, and I will do anything that she asks me to because that is who I am. But I decided to do it on this movie. I thought it'd be interesting. I know it's been a long time since I made another one, but here we are, a movie review for the first time in months. But like I said, thank you for everyone who decided to stop by and listen, decided to watch. However you decided to intake it. I could not thank you enough for being here. Thank you for stopping by, listening, watching, reading, however you decide to intake it. And I will see you in the next one. Adios.